Let's jump into the lesson for the week. I was in here yesterday and I picked up a manual that I haven't picked up in a long time. Many of you are familiar with this. Some of you, Jenny, even teach this. And the 6 personal perspectives, in my opinion, does not get the airtime that it deserves. And I think it's because of how it's titled. And I'll go publicly on the record that I think this is one of the worst titles that you could have for this material. If I could title it, what I would title it is The Ingredients of a Billionaire's Mindset. That's the way that I think about it. Is that these are 6 things that are organized, 6 ingredients that are organized into a recipe of how a billionaire thinks about his life and achievement, right? And what I thought would be cool is for me to walk you through each one, not from a lesson perspective, but more of like a question perspective. And so if you're familiar with this, you know that the very first one is committing to self-mastery. Now, today's going to be a little bit more interactive than it has been in the past. So I'm going to invite you all to look at this Monday Morning Mojo as a mini coaching session. And I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to answer them, whether you put them into the chat box, take yourself off mute. Now, if you're going to take yourself off mute, raise your hand so that we can do this in an organized fashion. But I'm going to ask you some questions and I would love for you to answer it. Okay. And keep in mind, out of 100 on the I scale of the DISC, I'm a 2. So long, awkward silences bother you way more than they bother me. And so if we sit here in a long, awkward silence because you don't participate, that's more painful for you than it is for me. And so the first one, committing to self-mastery. Here's my question to you. What does self-mastery mean to you? What does self-mastery mean to you? Now, how would you answer that? And remember, there are no stupid questions. There are no stupid answers. There's only stupid people. So there's no pressure here. Okay. But what is that for you? What is self-mastery? How do you define it? Looks like we're going to sit here.
You know, it's hard for me to not talk, Jordan.
Then talk.
I mean, to me, self-mastery is getting a little bit better at me every single day.
Getting a little bit better at me every single day. Okay. What does that mean?
It means that in all the areas of my life, plussing, whether it's my mindset, my habits, my choices, becoming a better version of myself in all the areas of my life.
I love that. Becoming a better version of myself in all areas of my life. Brittany says committing to a plan of bettering myself. John says working on being the best version of me. And I think he meant daily after that. Meg, knowing what decisions will benefit my future self. I love all of that. Here's how I would answer it. I think of self-mastery in 2 parts. Number 1, it is the understanding of what it is that you control. Understanding what you control. You only control 3 things in this world: what you think, how you feel, and how you act. That's it. You have no other control over anything else. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the constant and never-ending improvement of the things that I control towards my ultimate vision. So not very different than what Jenny, Brittany, or what Meg said, but having clarity on what is it that I'm optimizing for, which is one of my favorite questions that comes from James Clear. What am I optimizing for? And yet there's a question before it. And the question before it is, what is it that I'm optimizing? And I think we're all looking to optimize how we think, how we feel, and how we act, right? In fact, at Keller Williams, we have a very specific definition for the word leadership. And that's teaching people how to think so they can get what they want when they want it, right? That's the definition of leadership. So self-mastery is teaching yourself how to think so that you can get what you want when you want it. So that's my definition of self-mastery. The second one is, and this is the second perspective, and it's all about the 80-20 principle. Now, I don't think I need to explain what the 80-20 principle is to this group. And yet I'll never forget, and I think I shared this with you all recently, I had a conversation with Gary, and I asked him, I said, if I were the success police, and there were certain laws that you wanted me to enforce, right? Because each and every one of us are in a partnership with Gary via MAPS and me as your coach, right? And I said, so if there were laws that you wanted me to enforce, laws of success, what would they be? And he said, there's really only one law of success, and it's the 80-20 principle, right? And we talk about this a lot. And I hear often from people that they want to create a balancing act in their lives, right? They want to create this balancing relationship between their work and their professional life and their personal life. And so my question on this for you, if we're talking about how do we get more by doing less, what is it that you need to stop doing? What is it that you need to stop doing? And another way to ask that is, what is it that you're doing that isn't creating momentum? What is it that you're doing that just doesn't really matter? Now, that's not one I'm going to ask all of you to answer in front of everybody else. If you feel compelled, drop it in the chat box. And yet, as I mentioned, I believe it was on the last Monday Morning Mojo, most of us treat the 80-20 principle as a rule to be broken instead of a law to be obeyed. And there isn't a single person here that wouldn't get more of what you all want, which is time and money. And what those two things actually represent to you, time and money, they represent freedom. It's freedom of choice, right? Each and every one of you would get more time and money if you would commit to the 80-20 principle. And part of that is the understanding that not all things matter equally. And so what is it that you need to stop doing? Dylan said social media doom scrolling. Already deleted Facebook and Instagram off my phone. Feel better already. I love that. Olivia, agents need to leverage all showings to showing partner. Man, you know, one thing that I've come to know, Olivia, is that what we suffer from in this industry is what's called hallucinated importance. We think we are so much more important than we actually are. Another hallucination that we suffer from is urgency, hallucinated urgency. Oh man, everything has to happen right now. Those are two things that keep you from living the 80-20 principle. Brittany said, we are reading the gap in the game as a team, and living in the gap does not create momentum. That's right. You know, what's interesting is that I can't recall ever coaching an agent or a leader who was experiencing burnout that was nailing their 20%. Because when you're nailing your 20%, you're making progress, and progress equals happiness. I've never coached anybody that was burned out that could earnestly look me in the eye and tell me that they were nailing their 20%. So next one, moving from E to P. Now, here's the way that I paraphrase E to P is there's two ways to do things, the entrepreneurial way and the purposeful way. The entrepreneurial way is the best way you know how to do it. It's the best way you know how to do it. So that might be the best way you know how to lead generate, the best way you know how to ask for a review. And I love reviews. We're going to stick with this, right? Purposeful means there is a best way it can be done. Entrepreneurial is the best way I know how to do it. Purposeful is the best way it can be done. And see, this is where we're seeking models. We're seeking people who are already nailing this. Like, if you want to know who is the best at this, Tony Baroni. Tony Baroni is the best person I know at getting reviews. He knows how to get it done. So if you want to become somebody that's really good at that, you can go through all the trials and tribulations, or you can just learn from the people who are already doing it the best way it can be done. And look, I base that off of track record, looking at his track record, not things that I've just made up. But what is it that you're doing the best way you know how? But you should be doing it the best way it can be done. What is it that you're doing the best way you know how? But you should be doing it the best way it could be done. Because we live in an information rich, every answer you could ever want is literally at your fingertips. You have more information available to you now through your iPhone than the presidents of the 90s and 80s had of the entire world, the most powerful person in the world. And the means to learn have never been more prevalent, but the desire is very low because we want things so instantly. But best way you can do it, or the best way it can be done. Now, fourth one, making learning-based the foundation of your action plan. And here's all I'll say on that. And it's a very simple question. What is the skill set you need to download into your mindset that will set you free? What is the skill set that you need to download into your mindset that will set you free? I'll tell you what mine is. It was that I had to make peace with the fact, like, I started doing this 3 weeks ago. I have to train coaches. And honestly, I don't love training coaches because I don't find that most of them look at coaching as a lifestyle. I don't think that most of them are earnestly, honestly interested in people or listening and learning. I think that a lot of coaches become coaches because they just don't want to produce anymore. And so that's been painful for me. And yet I know that if I'm going to focus on my impact and how I can multiply my time, that's what I have to do. But what is the skill set that you need to download into your mindset that would ultimately set you free? For some of you, it's the generation of listing leads. For some of you, it's the conversion of leads that come to you, mastering just that section of the countdown to payday in real estate. Now, number 5, remove your limiting beliefs. Here's the thing that I've come to know about limiting beliefs. You don't give a shit about limiting beliefs. You don't care about your beliefs. What you want to eliminate are the residue of your beliefs. You want to eliminate procrastination. You want to eliminate anxiety. You want to eliminate fear. You want to eliminate frustration. See, you don't care what your beliefs are. You care about the feelings that your beliefs create. And there isn't a person alive that doesn't want less of what we consider to be negative feelings or negative states, right? And so the thing that I would invite you to consider, because I think all beliefs are limiting. By nature, a belief is limiting, because if I'm a Christian, right, that is at the expense of being a Muslim. It limits my ability to be a Muslim. Do you get that? All beliefs are limiting. My question would be, what are the feelings that you want to remove? What are the consistent states that you're experiencing that you don't want to experience anymore? Stress, overwhelm, frustration, rejection. What are the things that you want to take away that you don't want to experience anymore? So remember, you don't give a shit about your beliefs. You care about the residue that they create in your lives. So let's start with getting rid of that. How can we get rid of the things, the experiences, the feelings, the states that you no longer want to experience that feel limiting to you? And the last one, be accountable. Be accountable. So accountable means I own the result. Accountability does not mean getting punched in the throat, screaming and yelling at people. And what's interesting is I see this about people when they bitch about generations. Oh, this next generation of kids, they just don't get it. Like they're all woke. They don't understand how to hard work. That's all bullshit. That's bullshit. You see who you are. You see who you are. You know, what's interesting is that when I look around the kids in my life, my nephew Logan, who now is the personal bodyguard of one of the top generals in the military, my niece Ashlyn, who owns her own salon, and she's like 21. My cousin Bailey, who graduated college in 3 years and now is one of the top respiratory therapists in her area. I don't notice a lack of work ethic. You're seeing who you are, and you're always going to find something to bitch about. That's not what this is about. Being accountable means that I will own the result. That means that I will do everything in my power. And the reason that I bring up bitching about other people is that if you're a rainmaker, hear me loud and clear. If you're bitching about how your people aren't accountable, that is a reflection of you. That is you, not them. That's you. Because I listen to you and you say things like, oh, my agents, they just don't get it. Now, I'm not necessarily saying it's any of the rainmakers on this call, so agents don't freak out. But 9 times out of 10, you're explaining yourself, because that's my version or my experience of you. You say one thing and then you do another. We judge others on our intent, on their actions. We judge ourselves on our intentions. When you flip that, your whole world will change. But what is the result that you were accountable to? What is the result that you were accountable to? If you're a rainmaker and you're not hitting your listing goal, start there. That's the result that you should be accountable for. And it's nobody else's responsibility. It's yours. You may not have to do the work of it, but you are responsible for it. Man, my soapbox followed me in here today. I didn't expect that to happen. Sorry, Jenny, I got a little on one there. But here's the reason I share all this with you. We don't know what's going to happen in the fourth quarter. We don't know what's going to happen in the first quarter of next year. And I get that it's the end of summer and we all want to have fun. I get it. I understand all of that. And yet, what you do over the next 60 days is going to absolutely determine if we have holidays that we can celebrate or holidays that are going to feel very cruel. And I want each and every one of you to get lockstep focused over the next 60 days. Think of like it's the 75 hard for real estate from August 1st to tomorrow to October 15th. I need lights out focus from you guys. And we do that, we'll be just fine. If you don't, I don't know what the fourth and first quarter are going to look like for you. And you know me, I'm not a dooms and gloom guy. That's not my approach. I don't try to scare people. But we are living in one of the most unpredictable real estate markets that I have ever seen in my 17 years of doing this. And I want each and every one of you to prosper. And so really take what we discussed here today, answer the questions, and for the next 60 to 75 days, lights out focus. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to reconnecting with you on your coaching calls. If you need something from me, feel free to reach out, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.